He was the charming guy next door until he wasn't. Ted Bundy, born November 24th, 1946, in Burlington, Vermont, at a home for unwed mothers, grew up in Tacoma, Washington. Raised by his grandparents Samuel and Eleanor Cowell, who presented themselves as his parents to hide his illegitimate birth. Discovering the truth about his parentage in 1969, while at the University of Washington, fueled his rage. Early signs of darkness, like his obsession with knives and peeping, hinted at the monster he'd become. By 1971, Ted was a psychology student at the University of Washington in Seattle, volunteering at a crisis hotline. There he met Anne Rule, a former police officer turned crime writer. She found him charming, kind, and empathetic, like a younger brother. They shared meals and late-night talks, unaware he was hiding a monstrous secret. On January 4th, 1974, Ted's darkness surfaced. He broke into the basement apartment of 18-year-old Karen Sparks, a University of Washington student, bludgeoning her with a rod from her bed frame and assaulting her. She survived, barely, with permanent brain damage after 10 days unconscious. A month later, on February 1st, he abducted 21-year-old Linda Ann Healy, a University of Washington student and radio announcer, from her basement room. She was never seen alive again. Her remains were later found on Taylor Mountain, one of Ted's dumping grounds. From March to June 1974, Ted used his charm and good looks to lure more victims, often posing as an injured man with a sling or crutches. He abducted and murdered 19-year-old Donna Manson from Evergreen State College, 18-year-old Susan Rancourt from Central Washington University, 22-year-old Roberta Parks, and 25-year-old Brenda Ball. Their bodies, often mutilated, were left in remote areas like Taylor Mountain. Ted revisited these sites, grooming and interacting with the corpses until decay set in. On July 14, 1974, at Lake Sammamish State Park, Ted hunted in broad daylight, introducing himself as Ted. He lured 23-year-old Janice Ott and 19-year-old Denise Nadsland to his tan Volkswagen Beetle, claiming he needed help with his sailboat. Both vanished. Their remains were found months later near Issaquah, Washington, alongside other victims. Witnesses reported a man named Ted with a tan VW Beetle, putting him on police radar. In August 1975, a Utah Highway Patrol officer stopped Ted for erratic driving and found a ski mask, crowbar, handcuffs, and rope in his car. He was arrested for the November 1974 kidnapping of Carol Durant, who escaped after Ted, posing as a police officer, tried to abduct her from a mall. She fought back, jumping from his car despite handcuffs. In March 1976, Ted was convicted of aggravated kidnapping and sentenced to 1 to 15 years in Utah State Prison. In June 1977, while facing murder charges in Colorado for the January 1975 killing of 23-year-old nurse Karen Campbell, Ted represented himself. Left alone in a courthouse library, he jumped from a second-story window and fled. Aspen went into lockdown as he survived in the wilderness for 6 days, stealing food before being recaptured. On December 30th, 1977, Ted escaped again from Glenwood Springs Jail. He traded for a hacksaw, carved a hole in his cell ceiling, lost 30 pounds to fit through, and crawled into the jailer's apartment. He stole a car, drove to Vail, caught a bus to Denver, flew to Chicago, and traveled by train to Ann Arbor, Michigan. By January 8, 1978, he was in Tallahassee, Florida, living as Chris Hagen near Florida State University. On January 15, 1978, at 3 a.m., Ted broke into the Chi Omega sorority house at FSU. Welding a piece of firewood, he bludgeoned and strangled 20-year-old Lisa Levy and 21-year-old Margaret Bowman to death, then attacked Karen Chandler and Kathy Kleiner, who survived with severe injuries. On February 9th, he abducted 12-year-old Kimberly Leach from her junior high school in Lake City, Florida. Her body was found 2 months later in a pig shed. Anne Rule, writing a book about the Pacific Northwest murders, couldn't believe her friend Ted was involved. After his 1975 arrest, she corresponded with him through letters, struggling to accept his guilt. As evidence mounted, fibers from his jacket, witness testimonies, and chilling admissions, she faced the truth. Her book, The Stranger Beside Me, published in 1980, became a true crime classic. On February 15, 1978, Ted was arrested for the last time in Pensacola, Florida. Bite marks on Lisa Levy's body matched his teeth, a key forensic link. In 1979, he was tried for the Chi Omega murders. Representing himself, he turned the courtroom into a spectacle, even proposing to his girlfriend Carol Boone during the trial. They married on the spot, and she bore his daughter Rose in 1982. Ted was convicted and sentenced to death. In 1980, he was convicted again for Kimberly Leach's murder, earning a third death sentence. On January 24, 1989, at Florida State Prison, Ted, now 42, was led to the electric chair. He confessed to 30 murders across 7 states, though the true number is likely higher, with estimates ranging from 35 to 50. He admitted to bludgeoning, strangling, and desecrating his victims' bodies. Anne Rule called him a sadistic sociopath who thrived on control and pain. His final words were, "Jim and Fred, I'd like you to give my love to my family and friends." Addressing his lawyer, Jim Coleman, and minister, Fred Lawrence, outside a crowd cheered as the electric chair ended his life. Anne Rule's The Stranger Beside Me sold over 2 million copies, cementing her as a true crime legend. Her friendship with Ted haunted her, a reminder that evil can hide behind a charming smile. Ted's victims, Linda Healy, Donna Manson, Susan Rancourt, Kimberly Leach, and so many others were bright, beloved women whose lives he stole. Ted Bundy wasn't a mastermind, just a manipulative predator who exploited trust. His story is a warning. Monsters can be the ones we think we know best.